Mr. Chairman, we are recording the meeting and streaming live to YouTube. You can begin when you're ready.
Thank you very much. Good morning and welcome. This is MetroPlan Orlando MAC meeting. I'd like to call the meeting to order. My name is John Dowlis and I'll be chairing the meeting today. We also have a team of folks working to ensure this meeting runs smoothly for us in the room and those listening online. As we continue to meet in person, all committee members are required to be physically present here in the MetroPlan Orlando board room for purposes of achieving a quorum. Staff will continue to stream our meetings online for public access. If we will stand for a moment of silence, and then we will have Commissioner Sullivan to lead us in the pledge. Bow your head. Amen. Thank you.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. This morning, I asked that everyone silence your phones. That includes me. Smart devices. Ask that all committee members wait to be recognized to speak and to activate your microphones before speaking and turning them back off when you are complete. As a reminder, the microphone is turned on and off by pressing the blue button, the one with the little talking face icon on it, located on the screen in front of you. There are 2 public comment points in the meeting. Members of the public participating virtually who want to speak will use the raise hands feature on the Zoom screen. If attending by phone, you can hit *9 to request to be recognized. We also accept comments by email and phone message before the meeting. The guidelines for public comments are posted at metroplanorlando.org/virtual meetings. We want this in all future meetings to be accessible to all. Participants may join by computer, tablet, or phone. If you need accommodations to participate in the future, please contact MetroPlan Orlando. And right with that, welcome. And Ms. Larson, would you review the agenda for us?
Good morning, committee members. This past week, we had another compelling offering from the safety series. We heard from safety advocate Melissa Wandell, and she shared her story of tragedy and loss. And she described her efforts in working with the National Coalition for Safer Roads, FDOT's Target Zero initiative, and Driving Down Heartache. Since that meeting is already passed, you can check it out on our YouTube channel, as well as all of our other safety speaker series. Our safety speaker series is not done though. And in your informational items, there is more information about future speaker series events. Tomorrow on June 7th, the Orlando Metro section of Florida APA will be having a Planning Academy 101 to show the basics of the planning field. If someone in your office or department could benefit from this, the registration form is available. On June 18th, we will have a virtual public meeting on the Transportation Improvement Program, or TIP. You will receive an update later in today's meeting on the new TIP as well. And lastly, on June 19th, which is a Wednesday, the MetroPlan Orlando offices will be closed to observe Juneteenth. And that is all of my comments. We're going to pass it off to Mike for safety moment.
Thank you, Sarah. Good morning, everyone. Mike Wilson, Senior Planner here at MetroPlan. With your safety moment again, June is Motorcycle Safety Month. So we're going to look at how those crashes occur and how we can reduce them. Over 200 fatal or serious motorcycle crashes in our area each year, and nearly 50 of those being fatal. Not surprisingly, a higher proportion of those involve a single vehicle, no other vehicle involved, because a motorcycle is, unstable and no outer protection, compared to 17% for cars and trucks. A common concern when we talk about motorcycles is we see and hear the egregious behavior of some really excessive speeding and aggressive reckless behavior. But I thought we'd look into how representative that really is when it comes to motorcycle crashes. So if you look at this chart here, and motorcyclists are really not significantly differently represented when it comes to speeding and aggressive driving. See, the numbers are pretty comparable compared to auto and truck. And also for that column for motorcyclists, some of those may actually involve a speeding or aggressive auto driver rather than a motorcyclist. That just means that that behavior was associated with that crash as well as a motorcyclist. But when we look at the broader crash data, what we see is that far and away, it's the angle and left turn crashes that account for the lion's share of fatal and serious injuries for motorcyclists. That look twice, save a life, which I'm sure you've all seen on a bumper sticker, is not just a slogan. It really means something because, you know, we have a tendency, if we just glance, we can literally look right past, right through a motorcyclist who's approaching. And so for all of us, when we're about to enter or cross the roadway, really looking, taking your time. And then if you see a motorcyclist, take even more time because it's easy to misjudge their speed because of their size and profile. What might be a little more surprising is how many of motorcycle crashes involve a rear end crash. And the majority of those are the motorcyclist rear-ending another vehicle. And the reason for this is motorcycles actually take, on average, more distance. A less skilled motorcyclist could actually take twice as much braking distance as a car driver. A proficient motorcyclist can get their stopping distance to comparable to a car, but it's a skill that really takes ongoing practice and maintenance. So for anyone who's a motorcyclist, being aware of that is really critical. Give yourself more following distance and work on your braking skills. So that's it for motorcycles this month. Also just want to mention this is the beginning of the 100 days of safety for teen drivers. You know, they're out of school now through August. And so we want to pay special attention to teenagers that they be cognizant of the special risks that they have while they're out driving. So that concludes my safety moment. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I believe we now have the roll call. Ms. Smith?
I'll ask all committee members to keep your microphones muted until call. Please say here or present. David? Sullivan for DeCiccio?
Here or present.
Dowlis?
Here.
Foraker?
Here.
Gardner? Councilmember Guthrie has asked for an excused absence for today. Henson?
Here.
Kennedy?
Here.
McCann?
Here.
Ramos? Sackett? Sladig?
Here.
Smith?
Here.
Mr. Chair, that concludes the roll call, and we do have a quorum physically present.
Thank you very much, Ms. Smith. I'd like to welcome Commissioner Kennedy, who I believe is joining us from Mocoa, his first time with us, and I believe also Commissioner Sullivan from Winter Park. This is your second time though here, right? Or is this your first?
This is my first
Oh, okay.
meeting with the MAC,
Got you.
although I did serve on the Bicycle Pedestrian Board when there was one many years ago.
Very good. Well, thank you very much. We'll now hear public comments on action items. We ask that you provide your name and address for the record. And please hold public comments. Oh, one thing I forgot. I need a motion. Commissioner Guthrie called in and said that he requested an excuse. He could not be here. Do we have a motion to?
So moved.
We have a first by Henson. We have a second by Jordan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show that adopted. All right, back to the agenda. If any members of the public wish to comment and are joining us virtually, please use the raise hand function and you will be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We'll send you a prompt to unmute your mic. Do we have anyone joining us virtually who would like to make a comment?
Mr. Chairman, we have no hands raised online.
Thank you. Do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to make a public comment?
We have not received any requests.
And any written comments?
There were none.
Okay, great. Thank you all very much. Next, we'll hear from our agency partners. We have Ms. Beckman from FDOT. Ms. Beckman, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. I'm going to keep my comments very brief today. If you have any questions about lane closures, I'm happy to meet with you afterwards. I do want to just make a comment out there that emails have went out for our maintenance resurfacing projects. We have sent emails out to all of our partners at this point, anyone who had expressed interest in partnering with us in those projects. So if you did not receive one, please reach out to Celine Bounds in our office. I'm happy to provide her contact information as well if need be. I'm just going to point out a few very quick events that may be of interest to some of you, and then be done for the day. So first, this evening, we do have a public hearing on our South Orange Avenue project from Magnolia Avenue to State Route 50. It is a hybrid meeting. It's both in person and online. There will be a looping presentation. If you want to go online, you do need to register ahead of time. Please let me know and I can get the registration to you. The in-person portion is at Mark Street Seniors Recreation Complex at 99 East Mark Street in Orlando, and it will start at 5:30 this evening. Next, we have a split hybrid and in-person set of meetings for our 535 Vineland Road project from US 192 to north of World Center Drive. Those are going to take place on June 18th and June 20th. The 18th is a pre-registration virtual option. It will start at 5:30. I do want to point out this is not our traditional looping presentation. It will start promptly at 6 o'clock. If you attend the virtual, it will be shown at 6 o'clock with public comment afterwards. On the 20th, we will have an in-person version of that public meeting as well, and it will be held at the Embassy Suites in Lake Buena Vista South at 4955 Kings Heath Road in Kissimmee. And again, that will start at 5:30 on the 20th. And finally, on June 25th, FDOT Office of Safety will be partnering with the Orlando Police Department or participating with the Orlando Police Department, sorry, a little tongue-tied there, in their Hispanic Senior Safety Summit. It's a good opportunity for senior citizens to come and talk to the police in their native language and get some information as to crime prevention, safety, and just general tips on aging. So it's an annual event. And again, that's June 25th, and it's going to be from 9 to 10:30. And it will be at the Inglewood Neighborhood Center at 6123 La Costa Drive in Orlando. And that is all I have, unless you have any questions for me. Thank you.
Any questions for Ms. Beckman? All right, thank you very much. Next, we have from Lynx, we have Ms. Whitten. Ms. Whitten, welcome.
Morning. Thank you. I only have a few updates as well. Our ridership is still remaining at 60,000 annual daily trips on all modes. And Lynx has selected 8 nonprofits to showcase their logos on our bus over the next 12 months. The bus will be unveiled on June 20th at 10 a.m. in Osceola County outside the courthouse at 1 Courthouse Square. And then Lynx has also had a long partnership with the American Heart Association, and we were recently selected for a grant for 15 AEDs, and we'll be putting those on our limo buses. And as far as we've learned, we're the only agency in the nation to do that so far. So we're very proud of that. And those are my updates, unless there's any questions.
Any questions for Ms. Whitten? All right, thanks very much. And we have now from the Mr. Fine from the Turnpike. Welcome.
Good morning, committee members. I have one update for today. So Florida's Turnpike Enterprise began its implementation of electronic toll collection on the Seminole Expressway from Aloma Avenue to I-4. And this began on June 1st of 2024. So cash will no longer be accepted on this portion of the Seminole Expressway. This conversion is part of the enterprise's ongoing pursuit toward more efficient business operation and customer convenience. Converting to ETC, as it's shortened, will improve safety and enhance mobility, allowing drivers to keep a steady pace while entering and exiting the Seminole Expressway facility by eliminating the need to stop and pay for tolls. Accepted toll methods are SunPass, or a compatible toll transponder, or you can also do toll by plate. That's where we capture your your license plate number and then send you an invoice. The SunPass prepaid toll program offers the lowest toll rate in Florida compared to toll by plate. Plus, SunPass customers avoid the $2.50 administration fee for each invoice that's mailed using Toll by Plate. So both SunPass and Toll by Plate allow customers to link debit or credit cards for future to pay for future tolls. But with that being said, that is the end of my report.
All right, any questions? All right, thanks very much, Mr. Vine. All right, we now have a few action items. One is the approval of the minutes. Before approved, do we have any changes or updates?
Make a motion to
Okay.
approve.
We have a motion to approve. Do we have a second? And we have a second by Mayor Foraker. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, show that adopted. Next, we have Mr. Sartorio to talk about the FDOT amendment for 2024 through 2028 TIP. Welcome.
Morning, Chairman and committee members. This morning I have 3 tip amendments for you. Additional information on these amendments is located in tab 2 of your agendas. The first amendment is for a resurfacing project on US 441 from Wadsworth Road to Lake County line in Orange County. And this amendment will increase construction funding in fiscal year 2025 due to cost increases for materials. The second amendment is for eastbound and westbound passing lanes on State Road 60 from Blanket Bay Slough to Peavine Trail in Osceola County. And this amendment will increase construction funding in fiscal year 2025 due to cost increases for materials. The final amendment is a turnpike widening project. It's a PD&E study, and the study length is from north of State Road 70 in St. Lucie County to north of State Road 60 in Osceola County. As I mentioned earlier, you have some additional information on these amendments. Look in tab 2 of your agendas. With that being said, unless there are any questions, we are asking for your vote of approval of the amendment. Thank you.
Are there any questions for Mr. Sartorio? Do we have a motion to recommend approval of the amendment? Mayor Foraker, do we have a second? And a second by Mayor Henson. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show that adopted. All right. Let's see. Next item 7C is amendment to the 2045 MTP, which is tab 3. And Ms. Laurent, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning. So kind of per usual, we have a series of modifications and amendments, but we're going to be taking them through the exact same process today. That's the per usual part. Even though some represent more significant changes, while others are relatively minor. And where those changes are listed, I'll be describing those for you today. So to begin with, our first revision is to the Complete Streets project list to be able to phase several projects that have been growing in cost over the past few years, and they're no longer feasible to occur in the existing format that they're shown. So those are being phased to be able to better showcase how they will be implemented in the future. So with these phases, we have been accounting for those growing costs over the past few years. So splitting those costs across multiple lines and those multiple items does not impact any project cost feasibility. So no changes to that front. There was one request from the TISMO Advisory Committee meeting specifically for the Winter Park Drive project. If you look at the draft MTP that's available online now, you'll see 4 lines for that project. The first being a design-only phase for the entire project limits, followed by 3 construction phases for each of the implementation elements. The City of Winter Park City of Castleberry has requested that be changed to showcase the design will occur for each of those 3 proposed segments. It will not occur once for the entire corridor. It'll occur once for each piece as it moves forward. So that's the only change there. And that would not impact any project cost feasibility. Going into our second item, this is a change to the North Street Phase 1 project in Seminole County from Raymond Avenue to Palm Springs Drive. This project is being advanced using local funds by Seminole County. So this is being proposed to be removed from our Complete Streets project list and moved to the locally funded Seminole County list. There are no changes to project cost feasibility, and any projects that were already located on the Complete Streets list will move up 1 in priority for everything that was lower on that list. So with that, there are no impacts to other project cost feasibility. Going into item 3, the City of Orlando was awarded a Safe Streets and Roads for All federal discretionary grant not too long ago. So we are including a reference to that in our bicycle and pedestrians list. That is purely for planning consistency purposes and does not impact any project cost feasibility. Item 4 is the addition of the Headwaters Trail from South Nova Road to State Road 528 to our bicycle and pedestrians needs list. This is a request from Osceola County staff for planning consistency in order to unlock some potential other funding opportunities for the construction of that trail. So for planning consistency purposes, this project is being proposed to be added to the bottom of the bicycle and pedestrian needs list as an unfunded need from the Metro Plan Orlando perspective, allowing the county to pursue those other funding opportunities. So with this change, there are no impacts to project cost feasibility. Going into item 5, if you remember earlier this year, we made a few adjustments again to that bicycle and pedestrian needs list to change some of those project descriptions and showcase that they were potentially eligible for the Sun Trail program. There was one that we missed earlier this year, so this is a minor change to the St. Andrews Trail project description to include that Sun Trail program and eligibility tag. So with that minor modification, there are no impacts to project cost feasibility. Going into item 6, the Canoe Creek Road cost estimates have been growing within Osceola County. So they've requested that we update those cost estimates for consistency with the latest information available and also showcase their projected phase implementation. So with that change, there are no impacts to project cost feasibility. And based on the TAC meeting last week, there was one additional minor change from what was proposed. The current draft that you see online shows the right-of-way cost estimate all occurring in one planning period 1. They've requested that change to showcase the right-of-way within the current 5-year planning period. So that's expenses expected to happen within the next 5 years. And then the remaining portion of the right-of-way would occur in planning period 1. So with that change as well, there are no impacts to other project cost feasibility, as all of these are being covered by Osceola County. And then one last few couple items for Osceola County on their locally funded projects list. There were a few other minor updates they wanted to make. And again, none of these have any impacts to project cost feasibility. This was to revise the Kissimmee Park Road project limits to extend to Cross Prairie Parkway. The removal of the Liberty Commons Boulevard project, because it's no longer consistent with their comprehensive plan. So we're removing that for planning consistency purposes as well. And then the consolidation of the Neovation Way project on the Osceola County needs list, as it was found to be listed twice. So we're removing that duplicate. So with that, unless there are any questions, we are asking for your recommendation of approval of the revisions that they've been presented today.
All right, do we have any questions? Do we have a motion to recommend approval?
So moved.
Mayor Foraker, do we have a second?
Second.
Second by Mayor Sullivan. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, please show that adopted. Thank you very much. Let's see, where are we on the next? Okay, we have 3 informational presentations today. Please hold questions until presentation ends if possible. Preview of the fiscal year 2025 to 2029 TIP. And Mr. Sartorio, welcome.
Thank you. Good morning, Chairman and committee members again. This morning I'll be presenting a preview of the fiscal year 2024-2025, fiscal year 2028-29 TIP. In your agenda packets, you will find a link to the draft document for your review, and the new TIP will be coming back during the June-July board and committee cycle as an action item. The purpose of the TIP is to identify all federal and state funded transportation projects for the next 5 years. The TIP includes locally funded projects and Central Florida Expressway projects for informational purposes, and it is updated on an annual basis, consistent with the adopted prioritized project list, which was adopted in July of 2023. Within the TIP, we have 11 sections, which are displayed on the screen. These 11 sections remain unchanged from last year, And we have a total of 513 projects within the 11 sections of the TIP. Over the course of the presentation, I'm going to highlight a few of these projects. First, we have the National Highway System. The section includes projects on the Interstate Highway System, Strategic Intermodal System, and National Highway Freight Network. In our region, this pretty much consists of projects along I-4. Within the TIP, we have 19 projects with 1.9 billion in funding. And a few of the projects we would like to highlight. First, we have one of the Moving Florida Forward projects. This will be adding lanes in Osceola County along I-4 from west of County Road 532 to east of County Road 522. Next, in Orange County, we have a project that will be adding lanes on I-4 from east of County Road 522 to west of State Road 528. Also in Orange County, we have an interchange improvement project that's I-4 at Darrell Carter Parkway. And finally, in Seminole County, we have a project that will be adding lanes from 1 mile east of State Road 434 to east of US 1792. Next, we have the State Highway System. This includes capacity improvements, complete streets, safety operations, and ITS investments on the State Highway System. Within the TIP, we have 68 projects in this section with 844 million in funding. And a few projects we would like to highlight include in the eastern part of Orange County, we have a project that will add lanes and rehab pavement on State Road 50 from Chuliota Road to State Road 520. In the Kissimmee area, we have an intersection improvement project at John Young Parkway and Pleasant Hill Road. Also in the Four Corners region, we have an intersection improvement project at Fooney Steed Road, and the intersections are at Linfield Boulevard and at Formosa Garden. And finally, in Osceola County, we have a truck parking site. Next, we'll move on to complete streets. These are projects that consist of roadway, bicycle, and pedestrian intersection improvements that improve safety and accessibility for all users. Within the TIP, we have 12 MetroPlan Orlando funded projects with 45 million in funding. And a few projects we would like to highlight include in the Audubon Park, Baldwin Park area, we have Virginia Drive, Forest Avenue, and Corinne Drive from State Road 527 to Bennett Road. In Apopka, we have Rock Springs Road from North Public entrance to Lester Road. In Kissimmee, we have Buenaventura Boulevard from Simpson Road to Osceola Parkway. And then in Castleberry, we have Winter Park Drive from Red Bug Lake Road to State Road 434. Next, we'll move on to Transportation Systems Management and Operations, also known as TSMO. These type of projects use innovative strategies or leverage existing technology deployments to improve safety and travel time and reliability. Within the TIP, we have 16 MetroPlan Orlando funded projects with 37 million in funding. And a few projects we would like to highlight include the Orlando Citywide pedestrian traffic signals, Orange County traffic signal cabinet upgrades, Carrier Drive, Mandarin Drive, TSMO bundle, and an arterial traffic management system at Boggy Creek Road from Simpson Road to Narcoozy Road. Next, we have bicycle and pedestrian. These include standalone bicycle and pedestrian improvement projects, including sidewalks and trails. Within the TIP, we have 25 MetroPlan Orlando funded projects with 52 million in funding. And a few projects we would like to highlight. In Pine Hills, we have the Pine Hills Trail, Phase 2 from Bonnie Bray Circle to Clarkona Ocoee Road. In the Baldwin Park, East Orlando area, we have the Little Econ Trail, Phase 3 from Baldwin Park Street to Richard Crowdy Parkway. And then we have several Shingle Creek Trail segments. First one is in Orange County. That's the Kirkman Trail from Old Winter Garden Road to Raleigh Street. Next in Kissimmee, we have Phase 2B, which is the Yates Connector. Also in Kissimmee, we have Phase 2C, which is the County Line Connector. And finally, in Orange County, we have Phase 4, which is from Alhambra Drive to Old Winter Garden Road. Next, we'll move on to safe routes to school. This includes sidewalk projects within close proximity of schools. Within the TIP, we have 3 projects with 1.1 million in funding. And these 3 projects include in Kissimmee, we have Phase 2 of a sidewalk gap project at Deerwood Elementary. In St. Cloud, we have Phase 1 of a sidewalk project at Hickory Tree Elementary. And in Kissimmee, we have Phase 2 of a sidewalk gap project at Boggy Creek Elementary and Parkway Middle School. Next is transit and commuter rail. These are two separate sections in the TIP. The transit and transportation disadvantage section of the TIP includes operations and capital funding for links. And the TIP includes approximately $453 million in funding. The commuter rail section of the TIP includes Sunrail projects, and the TIP includes approximately $657 million in funding. So as you can see, we have a lot of transportation projects going on in the region over the next 5 years. We have a total of 280 federal, state, and turnpike funded projects with approximately $5.4 billion in funding over the next 5 years. This does not include projects provided by the Central Florida Expressway Authority, which is also investing billions into their roadways in our region. And this also does not include locally funded projects submitted by our partner agencies for informational purposes to the TIP. And the pie chart on the screen breaks the funding down by category based on TIP section. And, as I mentioned, within the TIP, we also have MetroPlan Orlando funded projects. Within the TIP, we have 59 projects with an approximately $185 million in funding. And the table breaks this funding down based on roads and highways, safety, bicycle and pedestrian, and transit. So a few next steps. We have submitted our draft to FDOT and agency partners for review. We should be getting comments back soon. We also have our TIP virtual public meeting on June 18th. And once everything is complete there, we will prepare our final document for adoption. And as I mentioned, our TIP virtual public meeting is on June 18th. It's from 11:30 a.m. to 1 p.m. It will be located on Zoom, and there is more information located on our website, including a registration page. One last thing, at MetroPlan Orlando, we're always trying to improve our practices. This year, we have removed our GIS web map from the website, and we added this TIP online viewer, and still an interactive map. This one, you can search by FM number, by funding source, by year of a project. You can also search by specific sections within the TIP. And as you search, the lines will adjust on the map. You can also search for specific projects in that bottom left corner. And also as you zoom into your neighborhood, that list on the bottom left corner will narrow down to just show projects within your screen view. Also a full list of projects in the upper right corner. If you use the projects tab, that'll give you the full 513 projects within the TIP. Obviously not every project has a line, which is why there's not all the projects are within the interactive map. And this interactive map also allows people to click on specific projects and submit public comments. If you click on a specific project, the window will open that shows pretty much the exact funding information that's displayed on the PDF version of the TIP. And in the top right corner, there's a comments tab. So it allows people to easily comment on projects. That's going to conclude my preview of the draft fiscal year 2024-2025 to fiscal year 2028-2029 TIP. I would like to open the floor for for comments. Thank you.
I have a question. Does anybody else have a question?
I do.
Mayor Henson?
I noticed that the Cross Seminole Trail project was put on hold from 434 to the Cross Seminole Trail. Do we know anything about that?
Sorry, are you referring to the bridge crossing, the pedestrian crossing?
No, the Central Seminole Trail North section, formerly called the Power Corridor Trail Study.
I believe that's a Seminole County-led project. Let me follow up with you after the meeting. It was added to, I know, to our priority list later in the process. So it not being funded in the tip is,
I just
Probably
noticed there was,
likely, but let
the
me follow
project
up.
was put on hold, and I was just
yeah,
wondering.
I know that, like I mentioned, Seminole County, the county itself has been leading that project, the early design phase, and I believe the construction as well. So let me follow up. It's not one of those state or federally funded projects, which is kind of the focus emphasis of the TIP,
Okay.
but we'll get some information from you, from the
It
county
was
staff.
just on tap for, so.
For sure.
Thanks, and if
Mayor
you would
McCann.
keep me, you'd keep me in the loop on that as well, because I think the ultimate goal here is to tie Castleberry in through Winter Springs and onto the Cross Seminole Trail and just expanding. And we'd like to partner with you and be kept informed and see how we can help, because a big part of that connection to Castleberry will come right through Winter Springs, and that'll serve our residents as well. So you'll
Absolutely.
keep us in the loop.
Well,
Appreciate it.
We'll certainly follow up. As Jason mentioned, the TIP does include locally funded projects for informational purposes, to kind of show that full scale of investment and project types across the region. But we'll certainly follow up with the entire MAC as it relates to the standing of that project.
Thanks, Alan.
Anyone else? My question is more of an educational to help us out on the process. When you make the amendments on the TIP, how much is that based on input from committee members, the public, versus do you have maybe an inventory, management system says, okay, this road's due for upgrades or that kind of thing? Describe the process to us if we have an idea that we want to get considered.
Are you talking about for amendment purposes? Yeah. You can reach out to FDOT with any sort of input. Amy Beckman would be a good resource to start with, and she could pass that information along to the appropriate person within the work program.
And then they will present it to MetroPlan for approval then of the TIP?
They have, their internal processes, but yeah, once everything gets passed forward on their end, it would come to us.
Very good. Ms. Lauren?
I just want to add on to that one. So Jason's absolutely right. Can you hear me a little better now? Okay. Okay, so Jason's absolutely right. That's kind of the process for FDOT and state funded projects, a way to kind of get those onto the radar, planned forward for any MetroPlan Orlando funded opportunities. The time to share the ideas is now through our 2050 MTP process and that update process. So we are actively working with your staff back at your local agencies to look for those new ideas and opportunities so they can be included in the next long range plan.
Very good, thank you. For those who are new, I mean, this is true. You've got some projects you want. I got to tell you, it's been great with the relationship here to get something on the calendar. So, I mean, to get something on the radar, it takes a little while to get there. And I've said it many times, a lot of stuff doesn't have anything to do with you for, 90% of the time, but you need to be in the room when that 5 to 10% comes up and it affects you. But it does, the relationships here make a big difference in terms of getting some stuff done in your area, and they've been incredibly responsive. So, all right, do we, that was informational, yes.
Yep. Other questions?
Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Did you have one? Oh, okay, no, thank you. Great, thanks. All right, now we go to Mr. Downs with the preview of the 2030-2040 PPL. Thank you very much. Welcome.
All right. Excuse me. All right. Thank you, Chair. Good morning. As just mentioned, I'll be walking you through our annual update to the prioritized project list. So the PPL, think of it kind of as a bridge. It spans between our Metropolitan Transportation Plan and the TIP, which Jason just got done talking about. So where the TIP is kind of the next 5 years of funding, the PPL is kind of the 10 years following that, the on deck circle for what might get funded and pulled into the TIP. So the PPL is funded or is updated annually. This is just the preview stage where we're kind of seeking out feedback. And basically what it is a list of federal and state funded or federal and state projects that are looking for funding. Excuse me. So some approaches and considerations included in the PPL. It stays consistent with the MTP, where we've already established needs and priorities, cost feasibility, cost forecasts. It also stays consistent with the board direction on policy, performance-based process, and prioritization. Project eligibility is outlined within the PPL. Some buckets of funding are have certain requirements and strings, so some projects may qualify for certain buckets and not others. So all of that is laid out in detail within the PPL. And basically the end goal is to advance high quality projects and project phases to get them set up for potential funding. So this is a diagram of the different priority lists. Each of these has a informational one sheet within the PPL, which is linked in your agenda packets, and I believe PDFs are on the screens in front of you. And I'll give a brief overview of each of these with the next couple slides. So first off, we have our interstate highway and strategic intermodal system. This includes the key priorities include new truck parking areas for I-4 and moving Florida forward projects. You can find the one sheet for that on page 12, and then the full list of projects on page 25. Next up, we have our key priorities for the state highway system. This is just the top 5, but I believe there's about 70 or so projects on that full list. You can find the full list on page 26, and then the one sheet with all the information on page 13. Next up, we have our key priorities for the off-system construction assistance program for local projects of regional significance. You can find the one sheet for this on page 14 and the full list on page 32. Here we have our complete streets and context-sensitive improvements list. Projects on the left side of the screen have had their design phases funded and are looking for construction funds. And the items on the right side have actually just recently been updated based on some feedback from your staff. Those are actually looking for design funds, not construction now. You can find the full list on page 33 and the information cut sheet on page 15. Next, we have our TISMO list. All of these have had their design phases funded within the TIP, and they're looking for construction funds. You can find the one sheet for this on page 17, and then the full list on page 35. Next, we have our priority phases for our bike ped infrastructure projects. This includes active transportation projects as well as statewide SunTrail projects. The one sheet for this is on page 20, and then you can find the full broken out list on page 38. Next, we have our key priorities for the Safe Routes to School list, which includes pedestrian improvements within 2 miles of a school. The one sheet for this is on page 21, and then the full list is on page 40. And next, we have our critical sidewalk gap bundles. You can find out more about this program on page 22, and the full list is broken out on page 41. And finally, we have our regional transit projects. Lots of Sunrail and Lynx expansion and service included in that list. You can find the information cut sheet on page 23 and then the full list on page 50. So that is the rundown on the list within the PPL. In the past couple of committee meetings at TAC and TISMO, we've solicited your staffs for feedback. I know it says requesting feedback by tomorrow. We're not putting that deadline on you guys. That was on your staff. They had a bit more heads up than one day. And so, but I still encourage you to take a look through, and if you have any comments or questions, definitely reach out either to myself or Alex or Taylor on the team, and we'd be able to address those kind of in-depth comments. And kind of next steps, I'll be coming back to you in the next committee cycle, looking for adoption for the final version with the feedback incorporated, and then it will go to the full Metro Plan board for adoption on July 10th. I'd be happy to take any questions. Thank you.
Any questions for Mr. Downs?
Yeah.
Yes, sir.
Real quick, I saw it and I'm trying to find it here.
The priorities, you had 434 Ronald Reagan. Because when I covered for Commissioner Sackett a few months ago, it wasn't, right, there it is, right there.
Mhm.
What do you mean by key priorities? What is the time frame? Because this is a big thing for the city along with that intersection.
Right. Yeah, we definitely know that this is a top priority. So by key priorities on this slide, this is kind of the top 5 projects on that list that are on deck for funding. But yeah, we definitely know that this is a project of key significance.
Yeah, because it wasn't on the radar, and then I kind of ran it up the flagpole, and now we're here. So I'm excited to see that on there. But now it says page 13. Is that the page 13 and here's where that's listed? Or is it going to be on page 26? I
Yeah.
don't see it on page 13.
So on page 13 is where you can find more information about the state roads list as a whole.
Okay.
More project information is broken out in the kind of expanded list on page 26.
Okay,
Yeah.
perfect.
And if I can respond to that, so that project has been on the radar for quite some time. In the current TIP, or actually not the current, the current TIP, Jason presented on the draft TIP, looking at the next 5 years. Metro Plan Orlando's invested over $15 million on that intersection of SU funds. So this is actually the construction phase. So there was a very long and drawn out right-of-way acquisition phase. You know, you're taking from 4 corners of corporate America.
Right.
So, you know, right-of-way took a lot longer than anticipated and a lot more expensive, but we're putting that project at the top of the list. When you look at the draft TIP, that intersection is not funded. So that, you know, so the construction phase is not funded, and that's why it's listed here, the prioritized project list, as these are the next unfunded phase. So it's kind of what's next, what's not included in the TIP, what's on deck, what's next. So as we're having those discussions with FDOT, these are the priorities that we're saying, this is what our locals want, fund these projects first. So that's what's been being communicated. I want to be really
No,
clear on
and
that.
you're right, you know, because FDOT's dragging their feet on the funding, so Seminole County, the county's gonna.
There's a lot
step up with
there's
that.
a lot of productive coordination occurring now, so hopefully we'll have some resolution in the coming months. But for kind of planning consistency purposes, it being documented on our prioritized project list gives it the necessary standing for us to formalize those.
Couldn't ask for any more. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you.
Next we have, those are always. We have a Regional Vision Zero Action Plan. Mr. Wilson, welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good morning again, everyone. We are closing in on adoption of our Vision Zero Action Plan at the regional level as well as at the local level. This gives you an outline of what to expect with the draft plan. Of course, you know, a typical executive summary, explanation of why we need a Vision Zero plan, some background on our crash trends, how we got to where we are, some overview of how we've been reaching out to the public and to our communities to get the information we need to have a successful plan. And then getting into the strategies of addressing the crashes, developing a list of projects that will both from an infrastructure standpoint and from a non-infrastructure standpoint that will start addressing the problem, looking at the plan as a whole, the action steps that will get us to that 2050 goal. And then how do we track our performance as we go forward? So those are the main components of this plan. And it's not just, you know, the elements, but then it's who's going to be involved. And it's really everybody from those who operate the roads to the citizens who use them. And so everyone needs to play a part in all these elements to have a successful plan. Digging in a little more, the first chapter, getting into the need for the plan and explaining what Vision Zero is, how that safe system approach differs from more conventional previous efforts with safety. Getting into the details of our crash data. For instance, you see here that pedestrians, cyclists, and motorcyclists are relatively small number of crashes overall, but as we go up in severity, they become a more significant component of it. So understanding those aspects, and also where are the crashes occurring, what are the characteristics, what are the contributing behaviors. We need to understand all of those things before we can have an effective countermeasures and plan. We've done a huge amount of work on getting out to the community. We have all of our consultant teams not only reaching out for the regional plan, but for all of your local plans, the 3 counties, all the municipalities, getting out there into the community and getting feedback that goes beyond what we can see in the data and the objective data, but we also get that qualitative data that we can get from people's eyes on the street. As I mentioned, it's not just a regional plan. We are concurrently doing the county and municipal plans, and they're all working from the same data set, and we're sharing the same kind of templates so that everyone can have a similar look and feel. We have consistency across the different plans so that anyone who's going from one plan to another won't get lost. Everything will be familiar. And it just helps us from a coordination standpoint as well, so that when we're trying to bring the local priorities up to the regional, everything is consistent. From a strategy standpoint, the right-hand side of the slide, you see there at the top, going with projects and efforts that are going to be the most effective, but they also tend to be the most costly and most time-consuming to implement. Working down toward the bottom where things that are a little easier to implement but may not have as significant of an impact. And that happens both in the engineering realm with the built environment, but also the non-engineering with technology and with public outreach and education. And it's also important from a policy standpoint. So we're going to be helping all of you all craft the policies that you need so that this becomes an integrated component of all of your processes, where we're hitting all these elements and these strategies on a routine basis. A key component of this is the project development, right? We need to invest in projects that are going to change the way people behave and reduce the impacts and severity of our crashes. So we've identified the network countermeasures that are kind of across the board countermeasures. We've identified the high injury network at both the segments and the intersections. And now we're getting into the planned improvements. So what is going to need to change in these corridors and intersections to bring the crashes down? And then we can prioritize those and then incorporate that into not only the safety action plan, but also our metropolitan transportation plan. This is one example of one of our corridors of John Young Parkway, where we would look at kind of across the board, the corridor long types of issues such as posted speed or lighting, but then getting into the details as well. Maybe a particular intersection has some issues that have a specific remedy. So all of those would be identified for that particular component of the high injury network, which hopefully would then grow into an actual project that moves into our prioritization and funding effort. The way we're looking at prioritization is first and foremost, it's what is our safety record, right? We want to put our money where the biggest problems are. Also, transportation disadvantaged. We know that certain communities that are disadvantaged have a higher likelihood of dealing with severe traffic crashes. Then looking what's the benefit of the project, both from a countermeasure standpoint, and then from a regional impact standpoint. And then also, what type of project is it? Is something that we can implement quickly, or is it something that's going to take longer? So all of those factors are weighed into how we prioritize these safety projects. We've set a goal for 2050 to reach 0 fatalities and serious injuries. And so that gives us then targets along the way. Where do we need to be 5, 10, 15 years, 20 years along the way? That will help us to keep track and help us from a standpoint of, are we budgeting enough to achieve our goal? So the overall organization of the plan, as you see there, is looking at the Vision Zero strategy and the systems, engaging the partners, and setting out a timeline for not only the project work, but continued planning work. This isn't the end of our planning process for safety. It's just the beginning. It's setting the groundwork for it, and then measuring how we perform going forward. So to that end, we've got 37 actions for the regional plan, where we're going to be doing continuing work in the coming years to get a better understanding of safety, better understanding of what our project needs are to achieve our goals. And a long list of metrics in order to really understand how we're progressing as the years go by. There are a number of technical appendices, just depending on what your role is within this effort. There's an appendix for you. And so it's a very data-driven process. And so we didn't want to pile everything into one document, but you can branch out into the appendix that answers the questions, the more detailed questions that you might have. Also, again, we're not stopping here. We are looking to do additional grant application. There's another grant funding opportunity coming up at the end of August, where we can do some supplemental planning and perhaps some demonstration projects. So we are talking with our local partners and as well as talking internally as to what we want to see out of that grant. So if you all have ideas on what we can add to that grant, the more we can put into it, the greater the impact, and actually the stronger our application will be. So our timeline, here we are looking at a plan overview. Later this month, we will have the draft plan sent out to everyone for review, looking for feedback by August 9th. And then we'll be coming back to all of the committees in August, and then to September for final adoption by our board. And that concludes my presentation. I'll be happy to take any questions.
Any questions? Yes, sir. Mr. Kennedy.
Similar to your previous, how does it work? You mentioned engineering, of course, and education. And I've seen some of the, I'll call them public awareness education efforts. Are there any partners, education partners? Are you partnering with the schools? There's no driver education anymore. Mm-hmm. How does that work? Are you partnering with the school systems, or is it strictly public awareness education? Can you elaborate on that?
It's somewhat tentative at this point. We've identified more of the strategies, and so going forward, that sort of leads to the partners. But we know there are already efforts going on. Florida Department of Transportation has a great deal happening. We are actually, as one of the demonstration projects we are still in development with, is for Orange County, working with piloting a middle school bicycle program. And so we're actually going to be meeting with school principals in a couple of weeks to get that rolling for this fall. So this is a pilot program. So we explore how well the program works. How well do the kids respond to it? What challenges are there with putting on such a program, and how do you make it sustainable? So, that's just a couple of examples, but yes, there are many more. And really, that's all, again, that also speaks to our own internal work, our own public outreach of identifying the core behaviors that we want to see changing, and then working with you all to help get the word out on hopefully the messages that will make an impact.
All right, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay, we're wrapping up a couple things. We have several items under general information tab 4. Take a look at that. Next Wednesday, June 12th will be the Metro Plan Orlando Governing Board meeting. And then note in your calendar that because of July 4th, next month meeting is actually this month, June 27th at 9:30 here in the room. Also, do we have any other comments from the board? All right, hearing none, let's see. If any members of the public wish to comment, please use the raise hand function and you'll be recognized, or dial *9 on your phone keypad. We will unmute your mic. After you recognize, please state your name and address for the record and limit your comments to 2 minutes or less. Do we have anyone joining us virtually?
There are no hands raised online, Mr. Chairman.
All right, do we have any members of the public attending in person that wish to comment?
I have not received any.
All right. And are there any written comments?
There were none.
All right, with that, we are adjourned. Have a great rest of your week. Thank you.
See you guys later.